Hey everybody, how's it going? Hope you're having a lovely Tuesday morning. Today I'd like to discuss the DMCA, Section 1201 of the DMCA, and a very interesting group of people that appear to be supporting Section 1201 of the DMCA. The DMCA is not all bad. I know, before you scream at me, it's nice to have a framework in place so that instead of an entire website or platform being shut down, you have a system to request the removal of specific works. If somebody uploads something copyrighted to YouTube, you don't take down YouTube, you take down that one work. That kind of makes sense. Section 1201, not so much. Section 1201 is the part that pretty much makes it illegal to try and crack DRM. Functionally speaking, if you read this act, that's what it comes down to. The circumvention of copyright protection systems. No person shall circumvent a technological measure that effectively controls access to a work protected under this title. And when you scroll down, it'll say, as used in this subsection, to circumvent a technological measure means to descramble a scrambled work, to decrypt an encrypted work, or otherwise avoid, bypass, remove, deactivate, or impair a technological measure without the authority of the copyright owner, and a technological measure effectively controls access to a work if the measure, in the ordinary course of its operation, requires the application of information or a process or treatment with the authority of the copyright owner to gain access to the work. A common example of this would be your disk drive or your laser failing inside of your game console. When that fails, it would be really nice if it was easy to repair it. You have to send it back to the manufacturer. Now, there are people that would like to crack the system, but it's essentially, according to this, literally illegal for them to do so, which allows the manufacturer to have a monopoly on repair. Many people have asked, when it comes to right to repair, why don't we just engineer our own stuff? Why don't we get our hands dirty rather than complain and ask the manufacturer for help? Why don't we reverse engineer these products and create our own solutions? And for many industries, one of the reasons that people don't do that is because the people smart enough to do that don't want to end up in jail because of Section 1201 of the DMCA. In my opinion, you should be allowed to pick a digital lock on a product that you purchased. If you bought it, you own it, and somebody else should not be able to lock that product that you bought and paid for so that you cannot fix it when something goes wrong with it. Section 1201 of the DMCA needs to go. Being able to rip DVDs was really cool so that you could put it on your iPod video, or if you're really a cool person and not one of the people that just buys an iPod, you had a Cohen A2 back in the day. That's right. When I ripped my DVDs, I put them on the Cohen A2. That thing had a 20 gigabyte hard drive and could play videos at 480 by 272 resolution without having to transcode from popular formats. Awesome. But in all seriousness, Section 1201 of the DMCA sucks because the person that created the tools that allowed me to take a DVD that I already paid for and legally own and put it onto that rather than having to carry 20 DVDs in a portable DVD player, technically broke the law. And to me, that's disgusting. I've paid lobbyists and I've also paid organizations that are doing their best to try and get Section 1201 of the DMCA weakened as much as possible for repair so that repair people can do what they need to do without having to worry about getting arrested if they break a digital lock. And you can hear more about that here or in this 30-minute long interview I did with Nathan Proctor. Now, there's a group of people that seem to be supporting Section 1201 of the DMCA that are quite mad that people are trying to create these repair exemptions. And that seems to be people representing the literary, theatrical, and musical works of L. Ron Hubbard, aka Scientology. This is a letter that was sent to the U.S. Copyright Office. Dear Sirs, thank you for the opportunity to provide comments. The following comments are made in response to the above referenced notice of inquiry. Specifically, we would like to oppose renewal in its present form of blah-de-blah, namely the exemption of computer programs that are contained in and control the functioning of a lawfully acquired device that is primarily designed for use by consumers when circumvention is a necessary step to allow the diagnosis, maintenance, or repair of such a device and is not accomplished for the purpose of gaining access to other copyrighted works. Let me repeat that. They are opposing an exemption that are contained in and control the functioning of a lawfully acquired device, meaning that you bought it, you paid for it, you own it, that is primarily designed for use by consumers. Again, we're not talking about medical devices, we're not talking about pacemakers, we're not talking about heavy industrial equipment, we're talking about your Xbox here. When circumvention is a necessary step to allow the diagnosis, maintenance, or repair of such a device and is not accomplished for the purpose of gaining access to other copyrighted works. Literally, let's make this device work again. The bare minimum necessary to break a digital lock so that you can make the device work again. No piracy, nothing else, not industrial equipment, not medical equipment, you own it. This is as milquetoast as it gets. And they oppose it. Many consumer devices are sold in the open market to ordinary consumers and are accompanied by unilateral shrink-wrap licenses governing the terms of use of the software contained within the device. We have no objection to the exemption as applied to these consumer devices to allow consumers to repair products on their own initiative. Other devices, however, can only be purchased and used by someone who possesses particular qualifications or has been specifically trained in the use of that device. such as the Scientology e-meter. This is a very interesting little device right over here. Tell me if I'm missing something here. This is from 1951, but I'm fairly certain this is an ohm meter. This is a device for measuring and indicating changes in the resistance of a living body, aka an ohm meter. This is an ohm meter. Like, if there's an electrical engineer watching that wants to correct me, you're welcome to, but this does not seem like something that requires specialized training. That's an ohm meter. That's put together to, in my opinion, trick people into believing that they're actually reading something of value off of the little indicator on that device, when in reality it's an ohm meter. In such cases, the license agreement regarding the use of the software that controls the device is not a unilateral shrink-wrap license, but rather is negotiated and agreed to in advance of the purchase of the device. Such agreements may impose restrictions on transfer and use of the device itself, as well as restrictions on the use of the controlling software. In many cases, such restrictions are essential to ensuring the safe and proper use of the device, which is essential for the device manufacturer to maintain its reputation and goodwill. Okay, somebody tell me the unsafe method to use this thing. And let's get back to this other line over here, which is essential for the device manufacturer to maintain its reputation and goodwill. Once somebody has purchased the device, if I bought an e-meter, that is my e-meter. I am allowed to do whatever I want to that e-meter. If I wish to maintain it or service it, I can. If I wish to calibrate it differently, I can. If I wish to change the values of the resistors or the transistors in that e-meter, I can. If I want to shove that thing up my ass, I bought it, I paid for it, I should be allowed to shove it up my ass. On camera. In all seriousness, this is a mentality that, in my opinion, has to go away. The reputation of the manufacturer will be harmed if you put a different brand of brake pads or tires on your Ford F-150. You should not be allowed to change the stock tires on your Ford F-150. If you put cheaper tires on and it breaks and it smashes into the car in front of you in a winter storm, that's going to negatively affect the reputation of Ford because that vehicle had a Ford logo on it. Get out of here with that shit. We do not believe during the 8th triennial proceeding in which the Copyright Office approved this exemption, the Copyright Office considered this type of device that requires specific training and is sold only following negotiation and execution of a license agreement. Permitting circumvention of TPMs in this category of devices would undermine manufacturers' ability to control both the reputation in their software, and the exemption could be interpreted as voiding certain terms in the license agreements negotiated prior to the purchase of such devices. In this way, the exemption would adversely affect businesses selling the category of devices described above. The exemption might directly contradict the terms of the negotiated pre-purchase license, undermining the business's ability to control the reputation of that and that of their products. We respectfully submit that this exemption should be amended to make clear that it does not apply to devices containing computer programs that control their function when 1. The device may only be purchased by someone who possesses particular qualifications and/or has been specifically trained in the use of the device, and 2. The use of such computer programs is governed by a license agreement negotiated and executed prior to purchase of the device, aka right to repair, as long as there is not this one paragraph in the EULA that every manufacturer would copy and paste into their EULA so that you effectively don't have right to repair. It doesn't matter what they actually write in the law if there's a loophole in the law that says if this little piece of text exists in the EULA, then you no longer have this right. Think of it like signing away your rights to a jury trial via forced arbitration. That's just going to be another line in another 108-page EULA that's written in size 3 font that nobody's going to read. And even if they do read, in many cases, every single manufacturer is just going to have it in there. So does it really matter? In that case, you will have no choice unless you wish to essentially manufacture all of your own products, hardware and software, because that loophole will exist. I don't think that loophole should exist because it would result in this being functionally useless. Specifically, we propose amending the exemption to read as follows. Computer programs that are contained in and control the functioning of a lawfully acquired device that is primarily designed for use by consumers when circumvention is a necessary step to allow the diagnosis, maintenance, or repair of such a device and is not accomplished for the purpose of gaining access to other copyrighted works. This exemption shall not apply to devices the purchase of which is restricted either by law or its applier to persons that possess the particular qualifications and/or has been specifically trained in the use of the device. And 2, the use of such computer programs is governed by a license agreement negotiated and executed prior to the purchase of the device. If there is any further information I can provide, please let me know. I can be contacted at the above address and the phone number or emailed at ryland@authorservicesinc.com. Very truly yours, Ryland Hawkins, with a very Chad signature. That element is going to be included in the license agreement of virtually everything that you purchase, if this loophole were allowed, which is why I think that loophole should not be allowed or considered. As I said, I have both directly funded lobbyists and directly funded other groups that are looking to do away with much of Section 1201 of the DMCA. I talk about that here, and I talk about that in my 30-minute-long interview with Nathan Proctor, whose organization I've also provided considerable funding to, as well as the lobbyists that we have handpicked together to try and really kind of smack 1201 down. But these people scare me. Again, let's just review the history of Scientology here, because I see a lot of people laughing in the media. Oh, yeah, Scientology. Oh, don't they make that silly meter thing? Oh, who cares about... No, man. No. I've gone up against politicians. I've gone up against politicians again and again. I've gone up against large companies like Apple. I am happy to throw politicians or companies under the bus when they do something wrong. I don't want to deal with these people. Let's just read a little bit of what Scientology is known for. In the course of a 37-year dispute with the IRS, the church was reported to have used or planned to employ blackmail, burglary, criminal conspiracy, eavesdropping, espionage, falsification of records, fraud, front groups, harassment, money smuggling, obstruction of audits, political and media campaigns, tax evasion, theft, investigations of individual IRS officials, and the instigation of more than 2,500 lawsuits in its efforts to get its tax exemption reinstated. A number of the church's most senior officials, including Hubbard's wife, were eventually convicted and jailed for crimes against the United States government related to its anti-IRS campaign, in spite of that campaign that lasted for 37 years. And in spite of them losing in court many times, they undertook negotiations with the IRS from 1991 to find a settlement. In October of 1993, the church and the IRS reached an agreement under which the church discontinued all of its litigation against the IRS and paid $12.5 million to settle a tax debt said to be around $1 billion. That's 1%. Imagine the IRS coming to you and saying that you owe them $5,000 and you just torturing them for 37 years until they say, you know what, we'll settle for $50. That doesn't happen. In the history of the United States, how often has that happened? Or the concept of fair game. Let's go into that. The term fair game is used to describe policies and practices carried out by the Church of Scientology towards people and groups it perceives as its enemies. Founder of Scientology, L. Ron Hubbard, established the policy in the 1950s in response to criticism both from within and outside his organization. Individuals and groups who are fair game are judged to be a threat to the church and, according to policy, can be punished and harassed using any and all means possible. In 1968, Hubbard officially canceled use of the term fair game because of negative public relations it caused, although the church's aggressive response to criticism continued. Applying the principles of fair game, Hubbard and his followers targeted many individuals as well as government officials and agencies, including a program of covert and illegal infiltration of the IRS and other United States government agencies during the 1970s. They also conducted private investigation, character assassination, and legal action against the church's critics in the media. The policy remains in effect and has been defended by the Church of Scientology as a core religious practice. Not even getting into the subject of where is David Miscavige's wife? The person who runs this organization's wife has not been seen since 2007. The last time Shelley was seen in public was at her father's funeral in 2007. Pictures of her attending this function surfaced online. However, she has not been photographed since. Mark Headley, a former Scientologist who has been spoken critically of the church, told Vanity Fair in 2014 that Shelley was once a top aide for the religious group, but was stripped of her duties and carefully watched by a handler during her father's service. When another church member followed Shelley into the bathroom and asked her for help, Headley alleged Shelley said, "Listen to me, I effed up and I'm not going to be able to help you." Has anybody seen this woman for the past 16 years? Would be good to know. Here's the thing. Going up against politicians? Sure. Going up against the trillion-dollar company? That's just fine. Going up against New York State Department of Taxation and Finance? I will do that, and I will publish the results for all of you to see. Going up against Scientology? I didn't sign up for that. And can I be completely honest with you for a moment here? I'm a liar. I've always been a liar. There's something that I said 7 years ago, and I even printed out merchandise that said it. It said schematics or die. I was not expecting to have to test this at any point in time. Maybe I should edit it to schematics or disappear. I don't want to disappear. I'm sorry. I like you guys. I like the concept of hardware and software ownership. I like the idea of living in a repairable world. I don't want to disappear. Don't want to get blackmailed. Don't want to have people standing outside my door all day, looking to dig up dirt on me, torturing me for 30 years until I leave them alone. Apple, easy. New York State government, Easy breezy Nebraska politicians that screw over farmers. I will be a thorn in their side every single day. I'll be happy to be there. These people, they scare me. They scare me to the point that I don't even think my mouse pad would protect me. Again, when I wrote this, schematics or die, this was written to ensure that I do not accept a compromise. It was never expected to test that whole thing. I don't want to die, and I don't want to disappear either. Where is David Miscavige's wife? Can anybody tell me where she is before I re-up my lobbying contract to get rid of Section 1201 of the DMCA? Picture? Phone call? That's it for today, and as always, I hope you learned something. If you're interested in getting these limited edition prints, which may be very limited edition prints if I disappear, go over to store.rossmangroup.com where you can buy this mouse pad for $14.99. We also have t-shirts that say schematics or die featuring Clinton the cat. This is the original Clinton the cat photo that I had printed on these mouse pads something like 7 years ago off of a Moto G second generation phone when he was yelling at me very angrily. The new one may come out differently. The press has always come out a little differently. I'm not sure how they're going to deal with the photo of Mr. Clinton because the original photo of Mr. Clinton had the thing that he was sitting on. I'm not really sure if they're going to be able to get rid of that. And there's also going to be a logo on the bottom of the mouse pad. The shirts will not come with a logo. The shirts will remain logoless. The mouse pads will have a Rossman Repair Group logo on them. They will be available for a limited time. Again, I'm hoping it's a limited time, not a very limited time, if you know what I'm saying. And that's about that. That's it for today. And as always, I hope you learned something. Store.rossmangroup.com. For when no company's willing to sponsor you, you sponsor yourself. See you in the next video. Bye now.